That's right, baby. We're back with another edition of the War Report AEW. Cody's in the house. He made it. He had a late run-in. It's me. It's Pluggo. We got JPJ on assignment once again. Can you guys hear me first and foremost tonight?
Yes,
I can definitely
hear you.
Because last night I tried to do a power out in Zach's honor, and storms and other outside factors completely trashed that idea. So I'm just happy people can hear me. I am joined by Chris Parrish, your Love Wrestling champion, and our man Cody. How you guys doing tonight?
Cody.
You got the title there. I was letting the champ go first. But,
oh, man. There's so much more positivity from you than Alex. I appreciate that. I'm doing just well. Thank you for asking. And I'm just happy to be here. But how are you, Cody? Because I haven't seen you in a while either.
I am happy to be here as well. Slightly, possibly mildly concussed, but I'd rather be here than in an emergency room.
He's playing hurt. He's playing hurt. Love it.
Well, if you need a doctor, we'll talk about one probably in the show.
There's a pretty prominent doctor in AEW. So this was the big show to follow up the big CM Punk news on Friday night, which we talked about extensively on a War Report AEW Rampage edition, or at least I did. I cried. I don't know. Anyway, this was the big follow-up edition. I got to give the crowd credit first off. They didn't start out the gate with the CM Punk chants and try to overtake the show, because they started with Orange Cassidy and Matt Hardy in a little bit of a tussle there. Mainly, I don't know. JPJ does much better with notes than I do. My notes from this match were they started off with the delete and the shin kicks, just keeping it nice and soft. And then, oh, hello.
My bad.
Hey,
and that was the volume and the audio you can definitely have heard had you watched AEW tonight.
Yes.
My bad.
Cody's possible concussion might have popped out today.
Do we have doctors here at Love Wrestling? Concussion protocols that we need to hit?
No. Nope. No, we don't have the budget, Pluggo. You should know this.
You and JPJ blew it all.
That's my fault. We're going to blow the budget tomorrow night, too. Don't worry. We got some stuff planned. So speaking of injuries and concussions and bleeding, in this match, my most noteworthy moment was Orange Cassidy overshot a crossbody off the top rope, or Matt was too close and didn't think he'd get that much distance and landed right on his face. And I'm pretty sure Matt Hardy has a broken nose.
Wait, did you just say broken and Matt Hardy in the same sentence?
Delete.
I mean,
delete and
cut the feed.
The competing chants there to start the match. I mean, we've already got the deletes going. Let's just break them completely.
Do we think it's time that Matt Hardy brings out Broken Matt or Woken Matt? Do we think he's going to do this in AEW now that there's people?
Maybe.
He's tried to do it when he came out at first, but there was nobody, and now he's doing what I just don't the Hardy family office thing just doesn't jive with me. It doesn't work for me. But I don't know. Who am I to decide what the legend Matt Hardy does? All I know is that man has had some of the worst luck in AEW. He debuts with no fans. Sammy Guevara tried to murder him off a forklift. He, to the point where we thought he was going to take some time off. He didn't. Now he's got a broken nose via Orange Cassidy. I don't know, Matt Hardy, man. Maybe it's just coincidence, but it all seems like dumb luck. But hey, what you guys think of this match? Let's start with you, Cody.
I didn't get a chance to pay a ton of attention to it, just other things taking my attention. But what I did see of it seemed like they had some good chemistry in there. The finish was a little kind of off to me, I guess, that they just both kept attempting the twist of fates, but ultimately the missed orange punch and then the kind of sort of roll up pin that he ended up having at the end there. I mean, it still leaves open the possibility that Matt could come back and want more out of this.
That seems to be where they're going. They seem to want to keep this little feud going, which I don't really, I don't understand it. But Parrish, what do you think about the Matt Hardy Orange Cassidy feud as a whole, and what did you think of this match tonight?
I mean, I like the fact that it's doing something with these guys. I don't see, and this is kind of where I am at with Orange Cassidy. Like, I do believe that if you put him with the right guy, he becomes elevated. If you don't put him with the right guy, he's as good as his shtick. He does have a very entertaining shtick by that. But at the same time, it's not the most intriguing of things in the world. And it kind of, I think, runs its course over time. But with that being said, like, I think Orange Cassidy is really, really talented. I thought that their match was good, and I actually thought their chemistry together was actually pretty solid. I like the fact that Orange Cassidy got the win. I do like the fact that Matt Hardy understands that, or even like they just know that he could have lost and still look strong in the process. So, like you said, like, it opens the door for them to continue this. But maybe you do something with like Private Party and the Best Friends. Maybe you do something in that realm instead of just one-on-one. Because I don't know if there's much more you can do one-on-one.
I agree with that. I think it is, like I said, it's something for them to do. And the show, we'll just keep moving on. I think there's people we want to talk. I think there's stuff we want to talk about. Also, stuff that nobody was talking about. Malachi Black, excuse me, cuts a backstage promo, basically telling Brock Anderson, just come in, walk out of the ring, take a 10 count. We'll see what happens to him later. And then we get Jericho comes out to the ring and his talks about his future. Basically says he hasn't been able to shake the losses to MJF. If he can't beat MJF, should he still continue in All Elite Wrestling? Basically boils it down to, he calls out MJF and says, look, if I want one more match, if I lose this match, I will be in the commentator booth. I'll never wrestle for AEW again. You get MJF coming out saying, I've already taken care of business here. I've beat you 3 times. I don't want to do it again, and then stops himself and he says, but ending Chris Jericho for good, that's legendary type stuff. So he says he'll see him at All Out. What do you guys think about them running this back one more time? Because they don't do a lot of, for AEW's credit, they don't do a lot of quick rematches like this. Like we just saw it last week.
I think it's a great way to maybe write Jericho off for the time being. Like, I think this is a match where he can easily win, keep the career, but then you can have MJF completely go to town on him after. And it's one of those things where I don't think I think it's beneficial that Jericho continues to wrestle, just not every time. But as long as this makes MJF look more dastardly, we'll say, at the end of this, I'm really for it.
Yeah. I I was surprised by it, but I think at the end of the day, we all kind of questioned why Labor number 5 was MJF to begin with and why we didn't have somebody else to get to MJF at All Out. And I think they could have done that and still ended this same way, but we talked about it a few weeks ago, Pluggo, on here. I'm pretty sure it was me, you, and JPJ questioning if this is the retirement tour for Jericho. And I think there's a lot of ways Jericho can be helpful and beneficial to the locker room within AEW without necessarily needing to be in the ring with them. I thought it was kind of an interesting choice when they announced Rampage that he was on the commentary desk, and now, you know, possibly putting it out there that it's going to be a full-time move potentially. We talked about it as well with MJF, that just being that guy that Jericho just cannot beat. At this point, you know, I was expecting him to get it in round 3. I wasn't with you there, Pluggo, when you were insistent that Jericho had to lose that match. And now we're going into round 4, where are we now? Does Jericho win this match, or can he still not get over that hump?
I think, you know, like I said before on this show, I think every wrestler needs that one or two people that just you can't quite get over the hump. And I always felt MJF being Jericho's kind of kryptonite was like the way to go, because it keeps MJF looking super strong over one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Then they decided to run this back, and for me, you can't. I don't think if as AEW you could paint yourself into this Jericho's never going to wrestle again for AEW corner, because they're very good at sticking, at least for now, into the stipulations that they set. Like Cody's never wrestled for the AEW World Title again, things like that. So I think you got to figure out a way to do it. And to our boy Ed's point, you know, this is a bad idea. MJF needs to be looking forward towards Punk post All Out. I think there's a way to do that still, to get Punk involved with MJF at some point down the future. It's one of those things, like, it didn't need the stipulation, but we do need to write Jericho off, because I think he's going on tour in September. So we need to get him written off. Hello, Astrid. How are you tonight? We got Throwback in the comments saying Don Callis equals Pepto bottle. Enough said. Keep killing it, guys. Thanks, Throwback. Yeah, we'll get to Callis in his suit here in a little bit. Anybody got any more thoughts on MJF Jericho at All Out? Do you guys think that we see MJF pull out another win?
I just think you got to keep an open end with Jericho's wrestling career. And like you said, like, AEW's done a very good job of sticking with the stipulations. And I don't want to see that integrity hampered in any way just because it's Chris Jericho. Like, you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where maybe this match can be thrown out because MJF is just beating him down too much, or it's something. As long as MJF comes out stronger than ever out of this match, I'm good. But if there's a way you can keep this open-ended with Jericho's in-ring career, I think that's best, because there's going to be the next MJF that you need a guy like Chris Jericho to come back for. Or, you know, like, there is that. So I just think you can't write Jericho off now, unless it's what he wants to do. If that's something he wants to do, then he's the one who should be able to control how he ends his career.
You got Ed saying the one thing is that 3-year contract comes up in January. Yes, but I think Chris Jericho is that type of guy that he may let his contract run out, but I don't think he's going anywhere else. I think he's made it very public that he loves what he's doing in AEW. And to Parrish, I think you're absolutely right. I think you keep it open-ended. You give him an out. So he's going to get the win against MJF. You can do some shenanigans with it if you'd like. You could get Sammy involved, whoever you want, and keep the ability for Jericho to wrestle in ring, while also, like you said, I think it was you, Cody, that said just beat him down at the end, get him off the ring, you know, write him off TV. I think you could do
that was Parrish that had that idea there.
Yeah.
I'm torn on it. I'm so torn on it because Jericho's been around for so long now, and he's done everything there really is to do at this point, that I don't want AEW to become like what we see elsewhere, where they're so reliant on the old guys to keep coming back to help the young guys. But at the same time, Jericho's so good at what he does that I get your point there, Parrish, that you don't want to say never and then have to go back on that somewhere down the line. So it really is up to Jericho at this point. If he's ready to, hang it up and call it quits and join the announce team and become a full-time announcer and be able to do that and not have to worry as much about keeping an in-ring shape while he's doing his concert touring, then maybe. But
in a weird way, does AEW need Jericho for the young guys? Because I feel they now have the Christian Cages, they have the Matt Hardys, they have Stings, they have CM Punk, possibly a Bryan Danielson, possibly an Adam Cole. They have all these other guys and potential guys now to do it, to where maybe Chris Jericho can work on something else. Maybe this could be a time where his swan song could be going back to WWE in a Hall of Fame thing. Because I do think that's the last thing I think we'd like to see of Chris Jericho from pro wrestling, is that he does get at least inducted in the Hall of Fame. And I think he has to be with WWE to do that, right?
Yeah. Or at least just not signed anywhere.
Yeah. Unless somebody else wants to get.
And does anybody?
I will say this though. I will say this I think if he signed to AEW and the WWE wants it bad enough, I don't think Tony Khan. I wouldn't put past Tony Khan to be like, yeah, go ahead and induct our guy on your show.
He's already done Broken Skull sessions.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they've already done a little business. They dipped their toe. Could you imagine the headlines? AEW star Chris Jericho inducted. But we all know Jericho's WWE guy, but
I just want to hear Break the Walls Down one last time. With the countdown, the whole shebang, like the original version when he debuted in 99. That'll tickle my tail feather. I would love that. I'm a huge Chris Jericho guy. He's had a lot of influence on me. So
we are all about tickling the Love Wrestling World Champions tail feathers around here.
Make it a Royal Rumble appearance in the year that he's going to be inducted, where you get the countdown to count him down to coming down to the ring.
Or have him lose to Fandango in AEW. Sorry, I had to say
that guy been up to. I haven't heard Fandango in a while.
I think he's still on his 90 days.
I think possible. He might be in his time there. I heard him and Breeze are doing a bunch with real estate now.
Mm-hmm. Hey, make that money, man. Anyway, you can
Angle's
get
a smart man. Smart man.
So the next up after that, we get the Varsity Blondes and Julian Hall hyping up their match against the Lucha Brothers, which immediately was next. And I didn't have a whole lot of notes for this match. I thought it was a tad sloppy at first. I thought it took a little while for the two teams to kind of gel and get going. And of course, anytime I watch a Rey Fenix match on my notes, I always put that guy is fucking awesome. Because I think he is fantastic. The Lucha Bros end up getting the victory over the Varsity Blondes, setting up the finals of the tag team whatever they called it. I can't even remember.
Eliminator. Yep.
Eliminator. For Friday night at Rampage, the winner gets a shot at the AEW World Tag Team Championships, the Young Bucks in a steel cage. Parrish, did you have any thoughts on this potential matchup on Friday? Well, it's not a potential matchup, but it is a matchup on Friday, or the match as a whole.
Well, I mean, I'm definitely going to put myself over when I said I called a Lucha Bros versus Jurassic Express final. And Cody, you were there, so you can back me up on that one.
I think we were all in on that. Those were the two teams we all three of us picked. So,
but I mean, I was very interested when this whole thing happened, and teams like FTR and Ortiz and Santana were not included, which I thought, okay, this is strange because these are the two best tag teams I think you guys have in this company. But with that being said, I really thought this was a good time to showcase a Varsity Blondes and a Private Party. I think Varsity Blondes have a lot of potential. I think the one thing you got to do is just protect them. I would love to see them go up against FTR, to be honest, in a non-title kind of thing, and just kind of have those teams, have FTR kind of bring those in. Because you said it was a little sloppy, and I would definitely agree, but I also think you're talking very inexperienced team and a very explosive team in the Lucha Bros. Lucha Bros are, I mean, can we say anything negative about that? Because I don't think we can. Like, they're just too good. But I mean, I have a lot of time to see the development of Varsity Blondes. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch in a couple years.
Yeah, I think on commentary they even stated like Pillman's only been wrestling for about 3 years now.
Yeah.
He's not been doing it very long. And I mean, Griff Garrison looks like $1 million. He gets an awesome hot tag. Like, he always gets to shine. So I don't know what's going on there. But Cody, what are you thinking about this?
100% agree on Phoenix. Phoenix and Penta both impressed me. That it wasn't a surprise to see them, take the win here. Varsity Blondes, I think, just in general, I find they look really raw in the ring still. That I definitely think you give it a couple years, and you're right that we could see them going far. But for now, I think they're still kind of lower tier compared to a lot of who they're working with.
They remind me of a lot of the early stage La Resistance, when you're like, okay, I can definitely see what they're capable of here, but there's work to be done. But I think, I don't know, like, there's just something that they have that just, they're going to be good. You just got to give it time, and you got to stay with those early struggles with their development, because they're going to have them. It's natural, just like our girl Astrid in the comments. But I don't like tag team division in AEW is just really tuning up, and it's going to be very exciting to watch. Like, keep as long as they give it some time, because that's, I think, a gripe that I've had over the years now that AEW's been there. Like, there's not enough emphasis on the tag team championships. Now that there is, I mean, this is fun. This is good to watch. Like, I'm happy to watch, even though it's not the most polished thing with some of their teams. You see what it could be, and I think that's a very telling thing.
I think either one of these teams is going to kill it in the cage at All Out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we don't get...
My only concern is another Jungle Boy Luchasaurus. If they give them the win, it's another loss on a big stage. So I have to feel, and I think the same token goes for the Lucha Bros too. I think you'll see the titles change hand at All Out, whoever they decide to go with, because I think it's time to maybe have the Bucks chase a little bit again, because the heel storyline, or I just you got to do something with these teams. You can't just let the Bucks just continually kill everyone in the division forever, and then it'd be an easier way to get the titles onto an FTR or a Santana and Ortiz, in my opinion.
I personally would like to see the Bucks. I personally would like to see the Bucks end up in a situation like Cody, where they're just forbidden from chasing the title, at least for a short period, if not forever.
I mean, I would love to see the Young Bucks actually work with a team like Varsity Blondes. I think they could actually help them a lot in terms of polishing their game. I think the Lucha Bros, though, are the team that we really want to win the titles from them, in terms of them or Jurassic Express. But I think the most natural story is Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus.
So then we move on next. After that, we get a little bit of a promo package for Pac and Andrade, which I think is just going to be an awesome match at All Out. They just go over the history that was their time in AEW. I still can't get over that Andrade is like, I don't know who you are, Pac, and what you want. Or Pac said it about Andrade. I don't know who you are and what you want with me. But it's like, come on, man. We know. We know. Any thoughts about this upcoming match at All Out between Andrade, El Idolo, and Pac?
Just get prepared to call 911, because they're going to steal the show.
Yeah.
Can't really say much after that. I think it's one of the most. I think it's one of the most. It's this weird marquee match of All Out, but it's still slightly under the radar in terms of, like, I don't think it's getting enough time, because there's just so much going on.
I think that's exactly the right way to define Pac in AEW right now, though. He is so good that he just doesn't get enough, whether it's exposure, whether it's the time. Like, I don't know. Like, I just think, like, you always forget about Pac. when it comes to AEW because he always seems to be that amazing gem. He's like Finn Balor in WWE. You always kind of forget that he's there, but then you're like, yeah, he's really, really good when you actually devote time and effort into him. And it's really amazing that he just hasn't been a champion yet in AEW.
Pac ended up in that same corner in his time in WWE too, though.
Yeah.
I always felt like Neville was somebody who was just on the cusp of breaking out, and he never quite got there. And in AEW now, like, what have we been building this storyline now for 4 weeks? They've been building this Pac Andrade thing now, and neither one of them has even been anything more than a backstage segment at any point during this build. Neither one has been in a match. Neither one has been in the ring for a ring segment even. It's all been done in backstage, possibly pre-recorded vignettes. So, I mean, these guys are two guys who could headline almost any show, and there's a good chance they could be an opener or early show match on this all-out card.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think Pac's, to the point about how he's not a champion, he was on the way, and then the pandemic hit. He got stuck. I mean, that stuff he was doing with Omega and Paige he was on his way there. But yeah, I think it's weird that they're not doing more in terms of building them up with some matches, not against each other, but just in general, doing some more in-ring stuff, getting you to kind of know Andrade a little bit more. Maybe they're keeping it tight just because they want to keep Andrade as fresh as possible. But who knows? I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe next week we'll get something. Probably not. It looks like a stacked card next week too. Then we get Jamie Hayter, the returning Jamie Hayter versus Red Velvet. And, obviously Hayter is Britt Baker, Dr. DMD's muscle. So she's out there to take care of business against Red Velvet. They also announced that Chris Statlander is going to be the opponent for Britt Baker All Out, as she is the number one contender. I thought this match was Red Velvet came out hot, swinging, but Hayter shut it down real quick. Hayter's a powerhouse. Red Velvet is good, but she's about 40 pounds shy of Hayter, so Hayter used her muscle quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Hayter gets the win, no surprise there. But after that, Britt Baker and Rebel come out to try to end old Red Velvet there, and Statlander comes out and clears the ring, makes the save for Velvet, setting up that big-time match on Sunday at All Out. Not this Sunday, next Sunday. I got my Sundays. I'm a little ahead of the game. It's felt like a go-home show tonight.
Almost.
Yeah. Anyway, what'd you boys think about Red Velvet versus Jamie Hayter? Any thoughts on the potential matchup at All Out? Or not? I keep saying potential matchup. It's locked in. It's the matchup.
The big thing I was watching for in the match the entire time was just how Hayter looked. I'm not really familiar with Jamie Hayter's previous work. So this is kind of one of my first exposures to her. I was genuinely impressed. It was a short match. It wasn't anything too crazy, but I felt like she looked really good in there with Red Velvet. Looked mostly crisp in most instances. The Statlander stuff, I think it was kind of obvious that's where we were headed to next here. Curious to see if Velvet and Statlander add somebody else to kind of counteract that numbers that DMD, Hayter, and Reba now have. But overall, it's a match I'm definitely looking forward to. Chris and Britt are going to kill it.
Yeah, and kind of just add to your point, I'm also not the most inept with both competitors, but I thought, like you said, there was definitely a good crisp match. I thought for what they had to do, given the time that they had, they executed everything well. And because of that, I put this match as my match of the night simply because they did everything that they had to do well. There wasn't really anything I can critique this match on because it all set something up. It all was done for a reason. Because of that, I really liked it. And I thought Red Velvet did a great job of, kind of being the one that takes the loss. And I thought Jamie Hayter did a really good job of just showcasing who she is. It was a great introduction of her in-ring game to the AEW crowd. So, and then we get the Chris Statlander and Britt Baker match. And I think that was the most natural progression. And I think, like you said, Pogo, this felt like a go home, but now you can do a tag and maybe you can have Statlander get a pin on Britt Baker on your go home to kind of make this more okay. Now we kind of believe Statlander has a chance to do this, but I don't think we see Britt Baker losing the championship at All Out.
I doubt it. I think you got to give her the long run. It took forever to get there.
Yeah.
They took the long road with the Britt Baker title.
It took an error or two to get there.
It definitely did. Then next up after that, we got the Dark Order backstage. A little dissension within the Dark Order. You got, Uno saying, Hangman wanted that beatdown. Alex Reynolds saying, we didn't want that. We haven't seen him since. This is your fault, Uno. Basically telling Uno, just because your name has the number 1 in it doesn't mean you're our leader. Uno tells Alex Reynolds to get out of from John's shadow, and he walks off. There's a lot of dissension here in the Dark Order, which is I'm interested to see how they play that out because they've been such an overact for so long. I didn't expect to see them break it up in a way or split it or fracture it or however you want to look at it so soon.
Yeah, unexpected. Definitely unexpected. But it also makes us talk about them. And I think that's something like it's really weird because they're really in a state of flux right now in terms of, where they stand, what are they doing, because they're not really, vying for a championship. They're not really in a major feud with anybody specific, especially now that Adam Page is not wrestling Omega for the title right now. So, what do they do? And there has to be, I think it's only natural that you have some internal combustion, but doesn't mean that you have to, really put everything on in flames right now. I think this is just a calm. It's not the storm. It's just the calm.
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity here that they've been running for quite a while now with Dark Order doesn't have a leader. Dark Order doesn't need a leader. But they've kind of de facto with Hangman being the kind of the top of the food chain as far as the competitors aligned with Dark Order went. Now that he's stepped away, you see Grayson and Uno trying to step in and kind of fill that gap. And everybody's like, no, we don't have a leader. And this dissension almost makes me think maybe we are going to get to a point that somebody, whether it's Hangman, whether it's somebody unsigned, possibly coming to AEW down the line that they're prepping a story for, somebody stepping in to take on the leadership and wrangle these guys back together and put the Dark Order into one cohesive unit again.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think success kind of with success comes like a blinding spot. Like when they had Brody, obviously they're firing on all cylinders. When they had Hangman, everybody was one. They were all successful. Now that there isn't a clear-cut, defined number 1, and who knows, maybe that guy is, Bray Wyatt down the road.
I was leaning there, but not saying the name.
Listen, I'll recklessly speculate things. Not when it comes to dream matches or dream booking, I'll speculate. I think, of course, it makes almost perfect sense to be that guy. Will they go that route? Will he sign? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not in the know. I just think that if they want to stay intact as a whole, they need a leader. And there's not a whole lot of options on the roster currently that make a lot of sense, in my opinion.
One underlooked thing of the non-compete clauses and everything here, though, is it gives the company, you can negotiate in that time. You can't sign a deal per se, but you can negotiate, and it gives the company time to start building these stories in advance that it's custom fit for you to arrive when your 90 days is up.
Yeah, and I really want to touch on both what you said and plug it with what you said, because I was going to, also name drop the artist formerly known as Bray Wyatt. But it just seems very organic that when you have a group like the Dark Order where they were taking all their, pun intended, orders from one person, and that person, unfortunately, and God rest his soul, is no longer it's only normal that, somebody wants to step up, and it might not be taken, kindly by everyone, because maybe multiple people want to be that guy. And then there's that little bust until somebody else comes in and just organizes the chaos. And who better at it than, the artist formerly known as Bray Wyatt. But maybe we also see the artist formerly known as Eric Rowan, and maybe the artist formerly known as Braun Strowman. Maybe all these, maybe we get a collection of this. Maybe we get it, a different kind of family coming in to kind of bring it back together.
Even just one of them coming in and taking the lead. Like the other part, kind of right in the middle of your diagnosis there, Parrish, is once they lost Brody, when they found Hangman wasn't named the leader. He didn't necessarily want to be the leader, but everybody in the group just seemed happy following him and supporting him and being there for him. That when he turned around and said, "I don't want you guys, I don't need you guys, this is on me," it kind of broke them a little bit, that they're like, now what?
Yeah. Because the Dark Order, as much as we all enjoy what they're doing and how they've been able to get as over as they are, there's not anybody in that group that is a standout, face of a faction type deal. There's, a lot of good parts, but they definitely need that home run hitting faction. So I think it's time, as we talk about home run hitting and leaders and big time names, CM Punk appeared again on AEW, for his first appearance on AEW Dynamite. Tony Schiavone, aka the real Drip King, looking good in them purple pants tonight, interviews CM Punk, and the first thing he asks is, what is the one thing that brought you to AEW, if you could name one? And the crowd is going nuts, and Punk is saying, I can't even hear you, Tony. It's too loud in here. He's trying to settle the crowd down. They're going crazy. Punk chants throughout. So then he finally speaks, and he names off Penta that we just, that we saw earlier. He names off, who else? Penta, Phoenix, Jungle Boy, Brian Pillman Jr. He wants to wrestle all of this new talent. He came to get in the ring and mix it up and see if he could still go. And he mentions his match with Darby Allin. He talks about how he sees Darby Allin. He sees a lot of himself and Darby. Can he still go? Does Punk still have it? This is a guy that he wants to test himself against it all out. He retired the voice of the voiceless. He said, no more of that, because everybody here at AEW has a voice. And then he mentioned, I forgot this part. As he mentions, can Punk still go? The crowd starts chanting a very familiar one-word chant. Yes, yes, yes. And he says, sorry, guys, that's someone else's stick. You'll have to be patient for him. Basically telling us that Daniel Bryan is signed, sealed, and delivered in the future of AEW.
And just catch you there, Pluggo. Immediately after he said, you'll have to be patient, September 5th.
Yeah.
Which I caught on to that's a little tease.
Yeah, because I mean the rumor and the speculation has been, yes, Asterisk, that was awesome. The rumor and speculation is that Daniel Bryan is going to debut at Arthur Ashe on the 22nd in New York. But why not have him show up at All Out just to seal it home and make you want to watch and want to be there, because they are running a TV show. Other key points that I had written down from this, he also said he made sure to say hi to his wife, April, tell her he loved her. Maybe we see AJ Lee show up too at some point. I don't think you can call her AJ Lee anymore. This was a standard, Punk promo. He was promoting All Out on the 5th. Again, reiterating why he's here. The fans are still going nuts for it. What'd you think, Parrish, of the Punk promo tonight on Dynamite?
I mean, come on. Like, other than smiling and just saying, I'm happy, like, what can you say? But I mean, it's just one of those things where CM Punk is so natural. I feel I'm using that word a lot. Maybe that's just because Astrid is in the chat. I don't know. But I just think when it comes to pro wrestling, CM Punk is home. and he's always was. I always questioned whether or not when he left pro wrestling, whether in his words it was when he left Ring of Honor or in reality when he left WWE. I'm like, you just don't fall out of love with pro wrestling. I mean, there's always that bug, and everyone gets that bug back. Over time, it will come back. So I, as hard-headed as he can be, I always kind of thought he'll be back in some way. When we saw him in backstage, you saw it, and you always saw progressively that passion for it coming back. So he's just happy to see him in a ring with a microphone, which there's very little people that can be better than him on a microphone. I would love to see him versus Adam Cole in that realm, because that would be very, very fun for me. But he's at home, and it just feels right. Him and AEW feels right. Him and Darby Allin is going to be a lot of fun to watch. But when he's talking about the new guys and he's talking about like the Jungle Boys, I really hope, there's going to be him and Andrade. I really hope that there's him and Pac. I really hope there's him and Paige. I really hope there's, him and Moxley or him and Malachi Black. And I really hope that there's those matchups too, because I think we'd all love to see Punk against some established talent in AEW as well.
What you think, Cody?
Sorry, muted myself. 100% agree. Yeah, the other one you didn't mention there, Parrish, was Miro. And again, Punk and Miro could kill it. I get him wanting to wrestle with new guys.
The tag match between him, his wife, and Miro and his wife would be fun to watch.
Well, yeah, there's that. And then you've got the teases already going around of him and AJ against Britt and Adam.
Yeah.
There's plenty of the
Cody and Brandy.
Yeah.
Cody and Brandy. I mean, come on.
Yeah, plenty of those to go around. I definitely would love to see some of those dream matches with the guys, the ex-WWE guys who we haven't seen him with before, and even somebody like Cody who he has wrestled before. Just, they're so much further along and so much more matured in their careers and in their skills in that ring that it would be something completely different. But yeah, the young guys too, the Darbys, the Jungle Boys, the MJF, Hangman Page, even somebody like a Daniel Garcia or like any of the younger guys that are coming up now. What was his name? Dante Martin.
Yeah.
All of these guys would be guys that would benefit from being in a ring with a CM Punk at the end of the day. Somebody with that kind of experience coming in.
Sammy Guevara would be really intriguing too.
I just, from a booking standpoint, I can't wrap my head around how you can get him in with these young guys and get them over and get them moving along, and also not have Punk losing every match or winning every match. That it's a big thing to try and, get them over and get them that experience and exposure without having Punk always look like the guy going over in the end.
You stole my thought.
Well, I mean, as
you can't have it both ways, right? Or you can. I think you can in AEW. And I think we've seen that with the Jungle Boy, right? Some of his best matches that got him over with the fans were losses. But I think there's so much established talent in AEW and so many young and up and comers that you mix and match it, right? Like Punk could face a Cody and beat a Cody, and Cody's bulletproof, and then still maybe take. I don't think he takes the L to Darby Allin right out the gate, but I think Darby Allin looks like an absolute bona fide superstar at the end of that match. Just being in the match with Punk alone says how much they value Darby and how much Punk values Darby. So I don't think by any way they're going to squash him.
No, it's a line to toe to try and make sure that you're giving him the W's and the L's, that you're not making him look unbeatable, but you're not making him look like a squash machine beating down and squashing and burying all the young talent.
I really believe you're booking him a very similar way you book Edge right now in WWE. You can have some losses. It won't kill him to take an L from time to time, but you got to make sure those L's are very important for the ones who get the W's. So are they meaningful L's? Because if they're meaningful L's, then they're still valid and you don't lose a lot of complaints. You just don't really deflate that talent. But with that being said, I mean, it's very hard not to have CM Punk win his first match back in Chicago of all places. But with that being said, if you can get Darby Allin to get the win and it's a respect with the handshake from Punk to Darby Allin, now you just made Darby Allin a bigger star in Chicago because of CM Punk. And I think it goes both ways. But I'm also going to say, he eludes Daniel Bryan Danielson. How do you not want to have that matchup? I mean, right?
Well, I think you do have that matchup, and that could be one of those. Either one of those guys loses, it's not going to affect either one. So you get some wins for Punk and Daniel Bryan. That'd be so much fun in a non-WWE setting. I think they could have some. Oh.
I like that idea of the handshake, though, Parrish. Even if Darby loses, just Punk giving him that respect and that acknowledgement and, raising him up at the end of the match, like getting Chicago to cheer him on after the loss, especially after Punk came out tonight and made the comment about Darby being a kid he would have cheered for back in the day. Mm-hmm. That you give that respect at the end of the match, too, that, you know what? Great match, kid. You took me to my limit. I got you this time. Let's see where you are in a couple years.
Maybe they don't necessarily do a handshake, even though there is definitely ties to mentions to Ring of Honor and the handshake, the Code of Honor. It's definitely a thing in the past when Punk was there. But what about the visual of just seeing them both crouch down in the pipe bomb position? I'm going to now call it just together, and that's like a form. And it'd be kind of cool to see Sting in there too, just for. But I mean, if as long as it benefits Darby, I think we're all okay with this because I don't think Punk really needs a W. He doesn't need an L. But as long as that loss matters, because we just don't want to see Punk losing to, say Brian Cage just for the sake of trying to help Brian Cage. Like we want to see an elevation of that talent who wins.
Just going to throw it out there from a nostalgia factor. I really want to see Punk and Sting at least get intertwined, whether a match or not, just be involved in some kind of action together.
Mm-hmm. That would be interesting. Interesting. Oh, I'll see myself out.
There's the door.
Then after the Punk interview, we get a quick vignette from old Miro, basically saying he's the Redeemer. He's the guy that's going to take care of the sinner that was the original sinner that was Eddie Kingston. Bring me Eddie Kingston. After he defeats and beats down Eddie Kingston, his wife will love him more. God will love him more. I think Miro's firing on all cylinders. Another classic promo from Miro, which then segues into what I'm kind of calling this the crowd pleaser trio. Eddie Kingston, Darby Allin, and Mox take on the Wingmen. They've done this trio a few times since crowds have been back, and literally, I think it's just to get the crowd up because it's been squash match opponents in a sense. Basically, they hit all their spots, they hit all their moves. Darby wins with a coffin drop. The only thing of note that happened outside of that is Daniel Garcia came out and attacked Darby Allin, which I thought that's strange because you just had Miro wanting Kingston. Why not have Miro come out? Or so Daniel Garcia, which they just wrestled, which is fine. More Daniel Garcia, the better. But I don't know what the end game or the angle is there unless Punk is already aligning himself with some of that young talent. Recklessly speculating there. What do you guys think of it?
It's reasonable. Again, mostly a wash. Even more of a wash than I thought the initial Daniel Garcia and 2.0 match with these three was. But I think it's set up that, Garcia has unfinished business with Darby Allin still. The Miro point is there, but Miro doesn't really seem like the type to be jumping people right now in what he's doing. He just does it all in the actual match when the bell rings. So, leave it at that. Obviously, this match is just there to get everybody back up and running. We hadn't had anything too crazy going on for a little bit, so get them back up, get them going, get them into the action again, setting up for the last hour.
Yeah. If by chance, Pluggo, CM Punk does align himself with a Danny Garcia, could we see a CM Punk heel turn at All Out? And how unexpected could that be?
I mean, he is a phenomenal heel. I just don't know if right now it hits because he's so over. People are just happy he's here. So like he could have just sat in the middle of that ring in pipe bomb position, not said a word, and the place it's gonna be a thing now. So I don't know if you have him turn it all out. I just literally my only thought was, why does Daniel Garcia have an incentive to take out Darby Allin, unless after Darby's done with Punk, they're going to go back to the Garcia thing, which they've already wrestled. So I just don't know. I don't know what the end game there was. I don't think Punk's going to be turning heel anytime soon. But I mean, if you do end up with like a Daniel Bryan and co or something in that match, yeah, he could be the heel in that scenario. But right now, he's just too over.
I think if anything, he's more anti-hero at this point. He could turn and say all the things that a heel would and still get cheered and loved for it. The way kind of Miz was after the Talking Smack, where he tried to be a heel and everybody just loved him even more for speaking out. So I think that's where Punk ends up, if anything. But he's not a true babyface. The
thing with Punk, though, is he's so much better at this than the talents we've talked about, though. He is so good of just dialing it more and really getting the response needed. Even when we didn't want to boo him when he attacked The Rock, he still put in the work to make you still boo him. So it'd be interesting. If there's one guy that could do it, it is CM Punk. However, I don't know. I'm intrigued by a potential Punk Danny Garcia relationship.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by anything CM Punk does, as we all know on this War Report. At any show I'm on, whether we're talking NWA or not, I'm bringing up CM Punk.
I think the fans want to love Garcia too, though. He's like his work rate and his workability. I think it would be pretty easy for him to align himself with a Punk and get himself on that train to a babyface position too.
No, I think they need to sign him yesterday. I really do. I don't know what's holding them up on that end. I'm sure we'll find out down the road. So after the 6-man tag, we get the announcement that the Casino Battle Royal this go around will be for the women. They show a picture of 9 of the participants. I didn't write them all down, but I do know that Tay Conti and the Bunny are one, and they have a little backstage tussle as the Bunny tries to get Tay Conti to leave the Dark Order and join.
Well, there's only 2 now.
2 what?
Well, Tay Conti was now announced as the second participant, right?
Well, they posted up a picture of there's 9 of the ladies. There's 21 spots. Only 9 have been announced. Tay is one of them. So they have, it's basically, it's, if I just.
Oh, so she was announced as the second entrant.
Yeah. So
that's my apologies.
My numbers are like, if I'm thinking it's like Nyla Rose and Bunny and Tay Conti, your normal suspects. I think Red Velvet's in it. Things like that. They'll announce as we go. Then we get an FTR vignette again talking about, they want this match. They're not sure, Dax's arm's all messed up. They're not sure if it's going to get back to normal against Pride and Powerful, which then they later announce for next week. Astro said we got Nyla, Thunder Rosa, Tay, and Allie. Absolutely. That's their Thunder Rosa is a front runner, in my opinion. The FTR thing that was a good. I mean, they always hit. I just will say this: like they're really good at these promos, and they make you believe that this is like them. Like they're not playing wrestlers; they are to the core, in their bones, wrestlers. Did you guys have any thoughts on the FTR? As I put up that Red Velvet is also in.
Yeah, I got the complete list. If you want me to just,
yes.
So we have, aside from Thunder Rosa and Tay Conti, Julia Hart, Big Swole, The Bunny, Red Velvet, Penelope Ford, and Diamante are confirmed.
Okay. So that leaves 20. That leaves 12 more spots available. I'm interested to see who they end up with.
I thought this was a good, like, I don't know, I got a lot of, like, I think WWE made a mistake of letting Tay Conti go, or Taynara Conti. She was in there, but like I think she was scratching the surface of what she's capable of doing in NXT, and then now she is really putting it together. She is a must see. I think Ruby Soho would be a perfect addition, but I actually believe Tay Conti is the perfect person to have win this Casino Royale.
I agree.
Yeah, of the names there right now, absolutely. I mean, Thunder Rosa doesn't need it. Thunder Rosa, I don't think needs it at this point. I think Thunder's kind of got her way where she's going, her direction set. I think it's a great way to introduce Ruby and set her up with her first feud. The others in there are kind of all your usual suspects that you kind of see in and around and don't really have a ton going on right now, but possible to set up a lot of different women's feuds through having this Casino Royale now.
A name that I'm very curious that might make sense for a lot of other reasons, Mickie James.
Yeah, that door is open.
Yeah.
You think you put her in there with a legend?
There's been a lot of those surprising kind of returns and debuts lately with Mickie, and now you got Melina coming back. You've got a lot of those names over in Impact that are doing really good things in a women's division there, with the Forbidden Door open now and the possibility for a lot of crossover. There's so many names that could show up in that Royal.
It's almost like she's the face of the female crossover. Am I wrong with that? Like, because she's really, I think, the most critical female in pro wrestling right now when it comes to evolving the next step for women outside of WWE.
I'm just going to throw a plug to our buddy Josh out there and say that Maria Kanellis and the legacy of her, she's got to be second behind Mickie right now in terms of growing women's wrestling.
Yeah. Which I would love to see them kind of open that door with the Empower or with this Battle Royal to get Maria Kanellis some more love, just because she's been doing so much behind the scenes.
A name that I think would be really cool to see, and I don't think anybody would really think about it, but what about Amy Dumas, Lita? How cool would that be?
That'd be so cool.
It would be so crazy to see her at this point going anywhere that isn't the E. I love me some Lita, but I can't wrap my head around that even as a possibility right now.
Trish Stratus, make the jump. Let's go.
I just think she is the one, like, out of all like the ones that were in that kind of like heyday. I think this could be the one, because maybe there's opportunity for her band, the Luchadors, to do something. I don't know, like I just think she's the most independent out of those women.
Yeah, a lot of possibilities. I'm sure they'll fill that out later, but we got to keep on moving. And then this is for me. This was where I kind of was like, I didn't need this. We had another Omega promo. Same thing. It's the same. I'm sorry to say it. I love AEW, but listen, if I'm gonna be fair, I gotta be fair. This was the same song and dance. They call out Christian Cage. Cage comes out, calls Callis a carny piece of shit. They hit Christian with the old, you know what, blah, blah, blah. You're always going to be known as second best, kind of taking a shot at his time with Edge. You know, it's just, and then they end up jumping Christian Cage as he takes a swing at Omega. And Frankie Zarian comes out as the Elite Hunter and makes a save. It was pretty much a wash, rinse, repeat for me. What do you guys think about what we saw tonight outside of Callis' suit, which was on fire?
Which was Pepto-Bismol.
As they said earlier.
Bismol, just Pepto. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Like, it's I don't know. It didn't add to anything. It didn't hurt anything. It was filler, I think. To make us still like care about the AEW title, which, I mean, you're not going to make people not care about it unless you do something really stupid. But like, I don't know, put a title on David Arquette. I don't know. I'm just throwing out bad potential ideas. But
don't speak that into the existence again. We don't need that.
Only if we get a 3-tier cage match.
That match had potential. It's just WCW did not know how to do it. But with that being said, it's I don't know. Like, I think, is it safe to say, like, I thought we were done with this when Christian won the TNA champion or the Impact Championship. I don't know. It just seems like, well, this could have been Adam Page. Why is it Christian Cage? I don't know. Like, I'm not invested in this as much as I feel I should be.
Yeah, it really feels like it is just filling time, that they had the Adam Page thing lined up and everything was heading in that direction. And I don't know what happened. There's at least the stories that a lot of it is his family life and that he took personal leave for, the expansion of his family coming up soon here. And he needed to be at home and take care of that. And it kind of feels like it was kind of a last minute request by him that Christian just kind of got shoved into that slot, and they don't really have much story to tell. So for 3 weeks, they've been saying the same things over and over and throwing Kazarian out there with his Elite Hunter gimmick just to kind of even the numbers up. But I think it's all still leading where we want it to lead to, but it's not getting anywhere for me right now.
It's Christian Cage. It's literally, they did the same storyline lead up to the Impact title. And like you said, Hangman being gone, they needed to do something. I still am holding out like some shred of like doubt that this match even happens at All Out. Like, there might be a swerve thrown in there because it's not AEW style to do this match. Literally, they just did it. Let's do it again and it's the same story. What's changed in 3 weeks? Absolutely nothing.
I know it's easy to say this would be a great time to introduce Bryan Danielson, but I'm going to go with another one, because when it came down to how Adam Cole was killed with being the Elite, how he was taken out of the Bullet Club, there's one guy always at fault, and that was Kenny Omega. How perfect would it be is if Kenny Omega won this match against Christian Cage, but Adam Cole is the one left standing at All Out?
I would take it as that. I think with some mysterious injury to Christian Cage backstage, Omega doesn't have an opponent. Tony Khan comes out and says, "We found somebody for you." Adam Cole comes out. I think that'd be awesome.
But do you have Adam Cole lose that match though? Like, you're building to Page winning the title though. Like, how you've spent all this time building to Page and Omega to have Cole come in and take that title while Page is off?
Well, you can't. Here's my thing with the Page. He took the time off. I mean, there's another way to get around it. Maybe and AEW has been really good at defeats with certain people still looking really good. So maybe it's just a 20-minute banger. Now, obviously, we're recklessly speculating at this point. No idea if Adam Cole could show up, Friday night on SmackDown, and we'd just be like, damn. But if you're gonna put Cole in that spot, that's a statement spot. I think you make it. You avenge the death. You pay off that storyline. And then there's a way to. I don't think Adam Page or Kenny Omega are going anywhere for a long time, so you can always go back to that.
I think the one mistake you do with Adam Page is rush his title win. And even though it's like, okay, well, we've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, yeah, but there's no build to a match. There's no build to it right now. Like, he's kind of like he's been taken out of that equation. So at the very least, I wanted him to have that, and I want him to have that true story back. So if you're not going to do that right now, if maybe the decision is to do something else with him right now, then I think it's very important that you save it for when the time is right. And I think the time will come. It's just you got to make sure that it's the right time. And I think with Adam Page, like you're just making sure that you don't F it up.
If we get Adam Cole and if it's at All Out, I think it fits better that Omega ends up getting over on Christian, whether with or without shenanigans from the outside. Omega and the Elite are in the ring celebrating, or just Omega and Callis or whoever, and you get Adam Cole come out and clean house there, setting up that program while Adam Page works his way back to that number one contender spot.
What if it's one of those things where Adam or Kenny Omega's in the ring celebrating, say with the Young Bucks, right? And we get a very weird, maybe shadowy figure on the screen saying, kind of reenacting kind of the turn that Marty Scurll had when he joined, and it was Kenny Omega who attacked it or got everyone to like turn on Adam Cole. What happens if we're seeing like a figure kind of like that, like kind of that figure, like it's not Marty Scurll, but it's kind of like that silhouette of that kind of saying this, and then all of a sudden the Young Bucks turn on Kenny Omega to rejoin Adam Cole, who's back. Would that not be a little compelling of a story?
That'd be good. I think
Adam and the Bucks versus Kenny and the BG and Anderson.
Yeah,
or Big LG, I guess that's what he's going
Good
by.
Brothers.
Yeah,
the old Good Brothers. Yeah, they gotta do something. I think in a lot of ways, the All Out pay-per-view should kind of tie up or end some of these programs in the sense that they move into another direction, because I think the Bucks, you can only go so far with this Elite thing right now. I think they're milking it right now for all it's worth, because I don't think they expected to have to run the Christian Cage program twice. I think they initially did like the idea of like Omega slowly losing belts, and then all he had left was the AEW championship. That's what I would have done with it. But then I think with Page, because it would have made an even bigger moment for Adam Page to win the title if all Omega had was that one left and he's just clinging on for dear life. But when you lose your star in that spot, you got to go with Christian Cage. No knock to him. It's not the same vibe.
No. I don't know. Like I'm not really like, I'm kind of getting goosebumps on this whole thing. Like everything's coming back full circle, and that's kind of interesting.
I mean, if I'm the WWE, I lock up Adam Cole. Whatever you want, you give it to him, type deal. So that's where I think like they've got the money. I mean, so does AEW. They've got the money to sign Adam Cole. So basically, for Adam Cole, it's going to become: do you want to hang out with your friends and do this thing in AEW and be with your girlfriend, or do you want to keep going on the main roster at the WWE, which they've shown countless times that a guy his size isn't that important. So
it's really hard to say because we're not in that position. We're not privy to that knowledge. But hey, we have a platform where we get to speculate on what we think would be cool and what we think we would love.
Speak for yourself. I got an ironclad contract here to love wrestling, bro.
Dude, so do I. It's this bad boy.
No, I'm the one who's on the outs here.
Yeah, you're fine. You're safe by association.
I don't know on the 30-day clause, but is it possible if Adam Cole debuts?
No clause.
Not for him, but the 30 days on Bobby Fish. That they could come together.
I mean, another one would be Buddy Matthews. I think we can't forget about the best kept secret.
I mean, the best kept secret might not be much of a secret after tomorrow, but that's all speculation right now too.
Got more pretty much said they signed.
No, he has to the end of August. He's been very, very out there with August 31. So, can I do anything till the end of August?
Well, let's just keep on going. We can recklessly speculate all night. Moxley's backstage, says he threw out a bunch of contracts to everyone in New Japan, and the only one that sent one back was Kojima, basically saying he's going to end Kojima. He's going to wish he was eating out of a straw. It's going to be a public execution. Wasn't much of a crowd pop back for the Kojima, I think, because he even made mention it's not who we all want, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is he wants Tanahashi. But he's been ducking it. But I have a feeling that you call out Tanahashi again, All Out could be the spot that he shows up and you get that program. Any thoughts on Mox versus Kojima at All Out?
It was surprising, I guess. Kojima is definitely not a name I really expected to hear dropped in AEW. There's a lot of names that are going around right now who he could be calling from NJPW. It could be Tana, it could be Will Ospreay, it could be Jay White. There's a few guys who've been dropping Mox's name lately over there that he could be calling out or calling for any of them to come join him in AEW. So we'll see.
Yeah. And well, the one person we know it won't be is Kenta, because he unfortunately got the COVID, as he announced today. But I think what this is doing is really, like, I think it's really cool to see a little bit more New Japan influence in AEW. I will not be lied to when I hear Kenny Omega probably doesn't have influence on this aspect of AEW, because if there's one guy that has a lot of sources in New Japan, well, I mean, it's either Don Callis or Kenny Omega, but I think it's cool. I think this is exactly what Jon Moxley should be doing, is working more of that hard-hitting Japanese style with someone who can do it. I think this is the best way of making Jon Moxley look like Jon Moxley. If you want him continuously looking like the badass of AEW, then you need to have him look like a badass in matches that really force him to be a badass, because you can't make him a badass against Orange Cassidy. You just can't, unless he's kicking the provable shit out of Orange Cassidy. But with that being said, we don't want to see pulp in that orange juice now, do we? But with that being, like, this is just interesting, and this is a match I want to see, because if you don't know a lot about New Japan, you don't know a lot about this guy, this is a great way of introducing it. So yeah, like, I'm for it, because this is going to be good.
I think the Mox style really, really fits the NJPW style of matches. Mm-hmm. I'm really curious to see how it plays in an AEW ring with AEW refs, though. Mm-hmm. NJ refs let a lot go and don't have to, be distracted for 15 minutes. They just use their discretion to, if you smack somebody with a chair on the outside and then roll them in the ring, the ref's going to be like, no, I'm not counting that one. Bring him out.
Just bring out Red Shoes. How cool would that be? Red Shoes. Like, how awesome would that be?
Or Marty. Bring out Red Shoes or Marty. I'd take either.
Or just Mike Chioda. He's fine.
I mean, Chioda's good at just turning around and tying his shoe for 20 minutes.
He's like, I'll just let it happen. That's why he's a goat, in my opinion. It's just a goat.
It was funny while they were doing the 6-man tag. I kept thinking to myself, like, where's Mox's big program at All Out? Like, what's he doing? Why hasn't he had anything announced yet? Because he's one of the biggest stars they have. I know it's stacked card, but if you're going All Out, you got to have Mox's. So I'm glad to see him get something. I wasn't necessarily excited about what happened next, boys. I admittedly, this was a bathroom break match for me. The Gun Club takes on the Nightmare Factory. We'll leave that up for debate. We'll let the fans in the comments let me know what you thought I did in the bathroom. But no, it's
a 3.
It's a 3. But it's nothing against. It's just the QT big Paul White thing doesn't do it for me. Gun Club
definitely 2 now.
You see them more on AEW Dark and Elevation. This was just a further storyline, and of course QT Marshall gets a loss via a Paul White distraction. It just doesn't. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I had legit forgot that Billy Gunn was even with AEW until earlier today when I saw the poster with all the matches for tonight's show on it, and I saw the Gun Club there. I was like, wait, Oh, right. Yeah, Billy works here. The match itself, I mean, it happened. Paul White, QT Marshall, I guess. It's, Big Show does Big Show things. We'll see what happens next week with QT, I guess.
I like the Gun Club. I don't know. There's just something about them that to me, it's like, oh, they're entertaining. But with that being said, like, they're not the strongest act on the roster. And I always have time for Billy Gunn. I don't know. To me, he's just.
It's not that I don't like him. This angle as a whole, and I know that the Gun Club was literally just there for more.
He doesn't get enough, like, just appreciation for how well that guy moves still.
He's got to be almost 60, right?
And he's still very athletic, like crazy athletic. And his kids are just, polar mirror images of him. It is weird. But also kind of like cool. But with that being said, I mean, I just don't care too much about the Paul White QT Marshall. QT Marshall is just not, he just doesn't do that. Like, he just doesn't get me out of my seat and make me want to boo him. I just want to go up and either, get a delicious beverage, maybe like an Okanagan apple cider that I have right now, or maybe I want to do whatever we're trying to guess what Pluggo did during this time. My guess is 2.
The match wasn't that long, bro.
Yeah, I mean, hey.
All right,
we're entering the danger zone here, but yeah, no, like I don't know, and like I'm not really too sold on wanting to watch Paul White in a ring either. So it's, I don't know, like I'm with you, like it just doesn't do a lot for me.
The only nightmares that group seems to be factoring for me is nightmares of them having to be wrestling on every show.
It's just, and I feel like they're pushing QT in all the. Why aren't you pushing Aaron Solo or Nick Comoroto or whatever happened to Anthony Ogogo? You're pushing it just doesn't work for me. QT always worked when he was with Dustin and the Bunny. They were like, the Bunny's screwing you over, and that was working, right? When he was the face and he was like the guy that was like just happy to be with the good-looking chick, and then he's like, no, him as a face worked much better than this. Like, I'm like the leader of this badass training facility. I don't know. Fun fact though, any guesses on how old Billy Gunn is? I looked it up.
58.
Cody?
61.
57. You were close. He's old. And
he must have a birthday coming up, right, Chris?
Close he is to 58.
He does have a birthday coming up. I think you are correct. I think his birthday is November 1st. So he will be.
There we go.
Just 3 months off, Parrish.
Oh, come on.
Well, then we get into
that's why I have this, though. That's why I have this. I'm pretty bang on.
We're just gonna show that off as much, but I don't blame you. If I had it, I'd show it off every day.
Dude, I'm trying to get a sponsor with Okanagan Spring here.
Yeah, tell them, hit them up. Say you're the champ. War Report needs a sponsor. We already have an awesome sponsor. Way to segue. RK Athletics. Please make sure, as it looks like Parrish is about to put up the banner, follow them on Instagram, Twitter. And
am I that obvious when I do this?
You leaned in. You did one of these.
That's true.
But make sure you follow RK Athletics for all your athletics.
I don't have a mouse, all right? Leave me alone.
I do the same thing when I read the comments. I'm like, what did they say? It's right here. They do an awesome job. They sponsor us. They are amazing. Go follow them. We are at the main event of the night of Dynamite, which was Malachi Black versus Brock Anderson.
It's actually really funny, and I'm going to point this out. I'm going to try to show it if I can, but on my phone, maybe it doesn't say, but it says Malachi Black versus Arn Anderson, and I just thought that was really funny.
Because
even the internet doesn't think Brock Anderson had a chance.
you had Brock on TV twice this week. That's all I can say. Well, they start out
3 times. He'll be on SmackDown too.
Oh yeah. So Shivani talks to Arn Anderson before the match, and it was kind of funny how they did like the Brock Anderson nameplate on the door, similar to like when Heyman talks to Brock about Brock Lesnar. He's usually standing outside the door by Lesnar, so I kind of thought that was a little nod to that. Basically, Arn said, "Hey, I think he's in over his head. This Malachi Black guy's on another level, essentially. But hey, he's an Anderson. He's gonna go out there and do his thing." Goes out there, gets his ass kicked. he does a double leg takedown to start a little flurry, but then Malachi Black just takes over. Hell, I think Brock Anderson got in more offense than Cody did.
Yep.
I loved his gear though. Like his gear was terrific.
He looks like a younger version of his dad.
I know. It's just there's something about it is weird, but it's also kind of like cool too. Like it's like if you look that close to it, like why not? Like it's the same thing with Billy Gunn and his kids. Like when we saw his kid when he tagged with him the first time, I believe it was like at the first All Out or All In or whatever. Like it looked just like Billy Gunn, and it was cool, and it was just like it makes you feel old, but at the same time, it's one of those things that's just like, you know what, it's nice to see, because if I had a son and he was wrestling when I got to wrestle, yeah, like it'd be pretty cool. It's like watching Dominic dress like Ray. It's cool. Like I don't care. Like it's just like, come on.
Yeah, and then they end the match. Arn Anderson gets up there to protect his son. Black throws a chair in the ring, comes up, tries to black mass, or what is he calling it now? I'm going to call it the black mass. I can't remember. It's late.
I feel like it's not a blackout, is it? No.
Blackout something. But Arn blocked it like a champ, and then Malachi Black kicked him in the balls. And my boy Big Shotty comes out, Lee Johnson, so he's going to get murdered next. My poor guy, Lee Johnson.
Miro wasn't enough for him.
No, right. Like Lee, buddy, like if you're listening, like you know I'm a fan. I've been with you since your days of Dark when you were like 0-30. And I was like, I couldn't wait for you to get a W. But what are you doing, dude? You're taking on the Miros and the Malachi Blacks of the world. That's not how you get them dubs, son.
You got to get in the ring with the best to learn how to be the best.
I think,
raise your game to compete with the best and then go back and dominate the lower guys.
I guess, or just get a concussion when you get kicked in the face. God bless America. That in a nutshell, that was Dynamite. I think they were kind of resting tonight on we have CM Punk in the bag, so we're going to have eyes on the product. Because I did see a lot of people like speculating, like, why didn't they go even bigger with the matchups? Because you had CM Punk, you had more eyes, you had an opportunity to go bigger. But it was nice in a way to see a lot of up and coming talent that maybe you don't see every week. So you get eyes on them opposed to just running, Kenny Omegas of the world.
I was just gonna say what we talked about last night with NXT was you saw a lot of new faces get the time. So when we knew with NXT you're going to get that transition, so you might as well get accustomed to the new faces that you're going to see. And I think this is a great way of knowing that, yeah, we got the people watching Punk, so they know the names, they know the talents, so we'll give them a couple, but let's sprinkle in some of the unknowns a little bit. Let's give them the Gun Club, let's give them the Varsity Blondes, let's give them just all like the Wingmen, like let's just throw in all these different talents that you don't know, just so they can get some exposure. I think that it was actually a smart move for AEW.
It seemed like a safe show. It seemed like they played it safe on a lot of aspects to try and maximize the reactions to what they did put out there. But I feel like almost every match had a recognizable WWE face with a stronger or newer, younger guy or group from the AEW grouping. You had Hardy there with OC. You had Mox in the ring with Allen against the whatever their name was. I forget already.
Wingman.
Yeah, the Wingmen. But then you brought back the Gun Club now, where you had Billy and Big Show with the QT Marshall storyline. You had these guys that people are outsiders who are maybe just turning in for one of the first times to see Punk. They're going to recognize these guys that they knew, but then they're also getting exposure to the younger guys and being like, hey, I kind of like that guy. I'm going to tune back in to see him too.
That's why you're safe, Cody, because I wasn't even thinking on that level. That's why you're not going to get fired.
Well, there's that phrase, guilty by association, and it can be taken in a bad way, but it also can be taken in a way of like how you're kind of presenting it, Cody. So that's just the thing. So even if somebody from, the Attitude Era is watching and they're like, oh my God, Billy Kidman's still around. Can you believe this? Like, oh my God, those are his kids. Oh my God, who are they wrestling? And then they see all these guys. They're like, oh my God, like they do this? Like
I didn't see Billy Kidman there tonight.
So I meant Billy again. You know what? That's what happens when you drink this amazing Okanagan Spring Apple cider.
I need to see Billy Kidman there. I don't know where he is right now, but I want to see him back.
Backstage producer for WWE. I think that's what he's doing. Well, look, guys, that was Dynamite.
I wasn't sober every time I won this.
JP Jake graciously let me run the show again as he is on assignment. He will hopefully get back into the full swing of things next week. He went to SummerSlam with Spencer.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, what do you mean assignment? He's still hungover.
What happens in Vegas stays in your system for a week. But before we get out of here, Parrish, Cody, tell them where they can find you, what you got going on. We'll start with Cody because he does not have a title belt as of yet.
Usually you can find me right here Wednesday nights on the War Report for AEW Dynamite. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on assignment and unavailable for the next couple weeks, so I will be trying to pop my head in and get my wrestling thoughts out there on some Saturday reacts, some Sunday brunches, maybe jump into some BOS on the weekends. Keep an eye there. You can find me on Twitter at Cody Defoe, right there. I always forget where it is. It's right here. Keep an eye on there. Keep an eye on Love Wrestling. Tune into most of the shows. I'll be in the comments. You can join me in the comments and keep everybody up here company when I'm not on here.
All right, champ. Your turn.
All right. Well, you can definitely find me on the Twitter at Chris Parrish. You can find me on the Instagram definitely at Chris.Parrish because some yoo-hoo decides, hey, I'm going to steal the Chris Parrish name because, dick. But you can also get me on the Twitch at the Chris Parrish because, again, dick's running wild on the social media. But with that being said, you can also follow me on everything. You can find lovewrestling.ca, whether it's twitch.tv/lovewrestlingca, youtube.com/lovewrestlingca, or maybe you just want to check us out on Facebook, which we have, or go to lovewrestlingca/shop, where you can find the Sunday brunch. You can find, these beautiful Sunday brunch stickers. The shirts that I thought I picked up, but I said put on a Metallica one because, it's all good. But you can find this beautiful championship because it's one of a kind. And I'm sorry, but we're not made of money because this guy over here likes to blow some budgets once in a while, which is all good because they kick some ass tomorrow night at Between Two Beards. One of the best shows that we produce in Love Wrestling at all. So yeah, make sure you just check out all the good stuff because I don't know where I'm going to be. Hell, I didn't even know I was going to be on tonight. Yeah, you just don't know. Just check our stuff.
That might be the greatest plug segment I've ever. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to.
You got a challenger in the comments there, Parrish.
Challenger in the comments. Let's find it.
Ed. Everyone's coming, but when you got the fastest car on the street, you're just like, look at that! Look at that guy. He's so far behind me. Whatever.
Let's Paris plug my show tomorrow night, 8:30 on all Love Wrestling platforms. Between Two Beards. Make sure you stop by tomorrow. Check that out. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at B2Beards because somebody took Between Two Beards and follow me at Pluggo. Somebody took Pluggo. But you know what? Like I said on my show, the reason that championship is on your waist or Spencer's is because you never let me in the mix.
Hey, to be fair, your co-host had a shot, and he kind of, let's say he blew the chance like you guys blow the budget on Between Two Beers because he didn't win it. So I mean, like I defended against not only one person but two people, and I took on Vegas, and I said, you know what? I'm putting all my chips on saying I'm better than you. Well,
until next time, guys. I am Pluggo. He is Cody. That is the champ, Chris Parrish, and we are out. Peace.